pai koe te mana hau. Oh, pūrangi aho te kitea. It's very clear to see that our boys are very, very different. Ne? Although I've got to be honest, there's not a day that goes by that they don't do my head in. Kei te pai rānei tēnā. What does their behaviour mean? What can I do better? Are they going to be okay? Oh, no tātou te waimarie. We're lucky to have experts like Hale in our lives to give us a little bit of helpful advice. Jenny is the senior family coach and presenter for The Parenting Place. Ko ia te mātanga mo te whanaketanga when it comes to developmental stages and helping families cope with all kinds of behaviours. I guess the big thing for us is that, I mean, they fight and we accept that. Kei te whawhai wharaua. There's biting, there's hitting, there's slapping, there's all that. And it's...
all that lovely stuff.
Yeah. And you don't, you know, for me, I always hear myself going, stop that, no, and it's just a constant thing.
Yeah, it's hard when you get in that little phase because you get weary and tired and you just don't know if what you're doing is right. So we start doubting ourselves. So I think one of the things that, you know, is important in parenting is to back yourself. What you've just described is pretty typical for the age of the boys. And in fact, the more you say no, stop, you know, the more they hear that growl in your voice, it almost attracts them to it. So try and just tell them what you want them to do instead of what you don't want them to do. Let's share that is better than stop fighting.
Ko te whanonga nui ki tō mātou whare I tēnei wā. There's one behaviour in particular with these boys at the moment. So they don't want to do anything, they will say no and they'll lash out. With me in particular, they'll grab my arms and they'll just dig their fingers in, pull my hair, you know, and I go, okay, so I'm going to ignore the behaviour, but at the same time, I don't want that to be acceptable behaviour.
Sometimes they're a bit miffed and offended and sensitive that you've said no to something. They're not delighted with that word. So I'm often looking for ways to sub out of no. You don't use no too often. So once again, you're saying, oh, kind to mummy's arm or gentle with mummy, telling them what they can do. And then you're firm. Sometimes you've got to protect yourself. You know, they're going for your face or they're pulling your hair. No, thank you. You're removing their arm. Then you're at this age. You're distracting them. You're finding something else. Don't camp around it like I've got to teach them a lesson here and now. It is a stage, and that's what's hard right now is that you're going to go into one stage which will be followed by the next stage, and really they're just learning. This is all experimental behaviour, and I think we can get through it a bit quicker if we're not too reactive with our language.
At the moment, there's obviously a massive difference between my boys. He mātātua ia, he's a real explorer. He's just out there, he's pepe hianga hoki ia, he's very cheeky. This boy here's a little bit more sensitive, but seems to be a bit more robust and, you know, is that who my boys are?
What you see in these early months and years usually is there to stay. It'll morph into some other things, but we don't need to box them in and say they're this type of personality or they're that type yet. It's not really known fully until they're about 7.
Something else that we try and avoid is trying not to speak that over them while they're in the room, saying this is what my son is like, this is, you know, this other son, my other son's like this.
Yeah, especially if you're using words like, oh, he's the shy one and he's the bossy one, and using words that we kind of don't want them to grow into.
They're two very different little boys, so how do we support them to grow into happy, healthy little boys?
Well, I love that you've landed on noticing that they're different, allowing them to have their own space. I think, you know, we need to often take one child out at a time to give them space to be with one parent at a time.
Nō tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe, Jenny. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to sit and talk with you. And no doubt we will see you again at some point.
I just want to reiterate that you guys are doing really well. I would call this one of the hardest stages you're going to go through, and sometimes you don't know that. You haven't got the privilege of hindsight yet, but hang in there and pat yourself on the back at the end of the day that you got through another day, that you love these guys so much. Yeah, and you're just going to get yourself ready for the next stage.
Are you ready? Quite eat that, Glenn?
No.
Uh-huh.